Hello everyone. I'm coming on to talk about the full moon in Virgo that we have in a couple of days on the 24th. And it's in the morning of the 24th. But before I start talking about the full moon, I want to back up a little bit and talk about when the sun moved into Pisces and we had the Cancer moon and the North Node and Chiron conjunct. And this was just a few days ago. And for me personally, I experienced so many, it was like a roller coaster of emotions, like so many ups and downs. And I've talked to a couple other people who experienced the same thing. It was kind of like this huge purge of emotions. And also I felt extremely activated. It was like all of this light was coming into my body, which then whenever that happens, it illuminates shadows or emotions that need to be seen or come to the surface and come out. And so there were a lot of irrational thought loops that I was experiencing. And it's really interesting. My friend had some really similar thoughts. And one of those was like, there's no one supporting me. And which is completely not true in my reality. And also felt like an opportunity to let go of that belief so that it could make space for us to really lean deeper into knowing that we are always so divinely supported. And we do need support in our lives as well. But this Chiron North Node conjunction is really inviting us to become our own healers in a lot of ways. And maybe it's to learn more about how to feel our emotions, how to access the subconscious, gathering up all of our tools. And a lot of us already have a lot of tools. So people are at kind of different places with this whole process. Like for some, they'll just be discovering more healing modalities. For others, it'll be deepening more into the ones that we have and utilizing them, as well as learning more. We're always learning more. But it was such an interesting energy. And to have the sun in Pisces and the moon in Cancer, that double water was like so emotional. And also I noticed that my intuition was extremely heightened, and not just mine, but people around me. I even had somebody talk to me and just like unconsciously project all of this really specific stuff to me onto me. It was bizarre. I was like, I never thought I would ever hear this person say the word shaman, and they're insulting like this, people who were shamans and all this stuff. And it was like this really interesting experience of this projection coming out that the other person has no idea that I'm interested in that or anything. So just kind of shows you also how we're all connected and spirit runs through all of us. And it's interesting to see how we each express that differently, whether we're conscious of it or we're unconscious of it. It comes through us. And that's kind of a cool thing to realize. And with this Pisces season, Pisces is all about compassion. So it kind of helps you have compassion in instances like that, where I could be in this situation where I'm like unconsciously being insulted over and over again, but I could see that the place that these insults were coming from the other person, were a place of fear and pain. And I could just have compassion for that person. And it also let me know what I am safe to express around that person or not. And it's up to me if I want to like push those buttons and just say whatever I want anyway, or if I want to navigate that situation a little differently. And for me, in this case, I wanted to keep the waters smooth. And so it just let me know, like, okay, this might not be the right person to talk about this stuff with, you know? So that was really interesting. I'm really curious to see how you guys have been feeling, if you've been feeling the highs and the lows. And it feels like it's all been preparing us for this Virgo full moon. Because I have to say, after I allowed myself to feel all of these things, I always feel better when I allow myself to feel what needs to come out. But there was also, because of the Cancer moon, there was this test. It was like, how do you step out of unnecessary suffering? How can we step out of the loops, the thought loops and the suffering, emotional loops that we can get stuck in sometimes, which kind of keeps us in that victim state? And something that came up for me was the pearl. And it was really helpful because the pearl is formed by irritation and by by sand making it into a shell and irritating, and it builds these luminous, beautiful layers upon itself through the challenges and the irritation and the suffering. And so when I would find myself returning to a thought loop that was keeping me just in the same kind of, all I can call it is a loop. Like, when I would find myself in that situation, I would evaluate what actually needs to be felt and released. And if I've already felt and released that, how can I look at the pearl and see what I learned from it and take the higher perspective and remember the good stuff? Because there's often a lot of good things that come out of our challenges. And it helped me step out of that loop and come back into a more peaceful state, a more harmonious state. And, Virgo, so we have this full moon in Virgo, and Virgo is the Virgin, the High Priestess, the Hermit. When I say the Hermit, it reminds me also when this whole kind of emotional roller coaster was going on, and I felt like I had no support, which was not true, but it was also like, I can't be around anybody right now. Like, I need to hermit. And it was such a weird juxtaposition of feelings, so I think right now we're also being invited, especially in Pisces season, because Pisces feels everybody else's stuff. We're being invited to take the space we need and not to get stuck in the hole too long, to come out again, but to be sure we're noticing what is ours and what is not ours. And when I tuned into this Virgo full moon, I heard, because what's happening now actually today, don't want to skip over this, is Mars and Venus are conjunct. So the masculine and the feminine are coming together in Aquarius. And Aquarius already is kind of androgynous, and it's this really like magical, alchemical marriage. And what I heard today when I tuned into the full moon was divine conception. And so it feels like there's been all of this purging and clearing so that we can actually receive the divine inspirations that are meant for us, and Mars is going to help us take action and actually bring them into form. I've had the feeling of wondering, are my words landing how I intended? Ooh. Then have found myself over-explaining. Lesson in learning to trust my intentions and where it's coming from and speaking. Totally. Yeah. And I know it's really interesting you say that because we also have Black Moon Lilith and Juno conjunct in Virgo, and Black Moon Lilith can kind of actually the Cancer moon too can make you kind of over explain like where you're at and what your feelings are and things like that. And it does feel like this invitation to just let go, like with the Virgo full moon, because the original meaning of virgin was a woman who belonged to herself. And with this Chiron and Aries, with the North Node, it's really how are we taking care of ourselves and being sovereign And there kind of has been a throat chakra activation that I've felt as well, which is interesting because we just had a Venus gate in the sacral chakra, so we're releasing a lot from the sacral, and the sacral and the throat are connected. So we need to feel safe to express ourselves, and a lot of times we're holding a lot in the sacral chakra that can make us feel unsafe, and then we don't have that direct connection, you know? So I could see that also contributing to over-explaining. So we have Mercury and Saturn conjunct the sun on this full moon, which also feels like this major activation of being able to take action. But it's so interesting that it's in Pisces. So it's like major spiritual inspiration and intuition. And Virgo is all about like the details and earth and getting things done. And so with the I'll go back to the Mars and Venus conjunction with that, and then with Juno conjunct Black Moon Lilith, what may come up as well is noticing what's unhealthy in our relationships, and it may be like a magnifying glass, like, we might get into that really critical sort of shadow Virgo energy of, I just can't stand this, like this needs to change, that needs to change, and we could fall into wanting to fix everything. But the invitation with this kind of Pisces energy is to help. It's really helping us balance out and view what we're seeing that needs to change with compassion. And so it feels like, you know, we could, when we view what needs to change or what we don't like, we have this energy to take action in our daily habits to make changes. So yeah, I wanted to look at the Sabian symbol for the moon real quick. A merry-go-round, finding poise amidst emotional turbulence. And that felt like that getting out of the loop kind of energy that I was talking about earlier. Knowing when to step off the merry-go-round, knowing when to step on and have some fun. It can kind of, if you think about it metaphorically, it can represent a lot of different things. But if you just kind of meditate on that image of the merry-go-round, it'd be interesting to see what comes forward for you. And then the sun, officers on dress parade. The complete integration that we seek spiritually is also mirrored in worldly matters. We learn to tolerate others until they become intolerable. And I can't help but this makes me think of the Julian Assange case that's going on right now. Here's a person who spoke their truth and is being persecuted for it. Not their truth, the truth. He actually had access to all of these documents that revealed a lot of dirty stuff going on in our government. And he's now on trial. We're waiting to hear whether or not he's going to be extradited to the U.S. For sentencing or released. And so I feel like this purification on the outer stage as well. There's a lot of the throat energy. And you know, there can be a lot of exaggeration as well with people who are speaking the truth, you know? So I think that this purification is to help us be in integrity when we're speaking the truth, and also knowing when is the right time and when somebody may not be open, and it may it could be detrimental. I'm kind of hearing like, yeah, we should speak the truth no matter what, but I don't know. That's kind of, maybe I'll pull a card about this, because I think there are times where it's actually, if you weigh your options in the relationship, like I was speaking about my own circumstance earlier, it can be better to keep quiet. Like, is what you need to say actually going to make any difference or be so important? Here we go. Ah, security. The cave. It's just trusting what you feel inside, whether it's safe or not. But we are always held. We have our ancestors. We have this inner spark, and we know how to protect that, you know? So I feel like it's just trusting in every scenario what to do or not. And I want to see what the dragons are bringing in with this full moon. We're in the year of the dragon now. I believe, ooh, that one fell out. Silver dragon. Ooh, that's perfect for a full moon. Illuminates your potential with higher light. Access untapped resources. Look into your soul. See higher possibilities. And he's holding the key with fire on it. That's like Chiron. How cool. So it's really about leaning into the higher perspective and trusting ourselves. Access untapped resources and seeing so much more potential. And I've been feeling that a lot with all of this sort of purge, is like letting go of fear of lack, letting go of fear of just being yourself, letting go of past stories. And I wanted to check in with the Magdalene because we have this like divine union of Mars and Venus. I'm feeling Magdalene. I'm also feeling a lot of Egyptian energy, which is not uncommon for me personally. But what's interesting is I just learned about the Egyptian asteroids, which are really interesting. There's a video with Heather Ainsworth and, I'm trying to remember the other woman's name, Julie or Julia something. But if you look up the Atlantis asteroid with Heather Ainsworth, you can find the video. And they go over how to find these Egyptian asteroids as well. And this Mars and Venus are also conjunct the Giza asteroid. So I definitely see this like alchemical marriage, like initiation in the Great Pyramid of Giza with this Aquarius energy. It's like this initiation into the new age. Blood power. This is all about connecting to our ancestral roots and the earth. I'm going to open the book and see what this says. Oh, my foot's falling asleep a little bit. Red Maven, blood power. I am the reclamation of your mother line. I am here to remind you that you are connected to the first woman that ever was. Your blood holds a memory, not just of your blood lineage, but of all blood lineages. For we all come from me, the original dragon mother. I am the reclamation of the remembrance that we're all interwoven and interconnected through our blood. Through the blessing of your blood, through the ancient rites of the sangreal, remember that you're human and divine. I am the power of your blood and your menstrual cycle. The blood mysteries live within your body, encoded with the cycle of life, death, and rebirth, the eternal return, which spirals in every cell of your being. I am all of the ancient dragon mothers from this earth. Feel the power of my primordial dragon scent. Feel the power of my blood, my tree, and how I activate DNA codes of evolution. Remember that this bloodline, this connection to all life, can never be severed. I am the connection to the cycle of life within you. You belong here, to me, to life, to all living things. Wow, it's such a beautiful card. And it says, consider this, how am I connected or disconnected to my blood or spiritual ancestry? Which ancestors or lineages are calling me to remember them now? That's really interesting. So it's this super ancient remembering with this Virgo full moon as well, which makes I feel like that card makes a lot of sense. And I love how it mentions the dragons as well and the earth. Like, these high vibrational energies make it so important to connect with the earth and to ground. And something I've been using to help me is vetiver oil, which connects you to the Great Mother, and also so earthy. For me, it just drops me right back into my center, and I'm kind of seeing that like tree of life when I talk about that. And so let me see what Isis has to say, since I'm feeling this energy as well. The other thing before I move forward, I want to mention Tom Kenyon. So one of the parts of my recent sort of activation was listening to the latest Tom Kenyon sound healing called The Tree of Life from the Hathors. If you go to tomkenyon.com, you can look it up. And his work is really powerful. It is not something to be taken lightly. But he has a Tree of Life soundtrack, I guess you could say, or sound healing that is really, really activating and is supposed to help you be able to take in these energies more harmoniously, I guess more easily. It sort of helps clear you. So that might be something you can check out if it piques your interest. Let's see what Isis has for us for this Virgo full moon. Spirit of Isis, triumph of the goddess. Isn't that gorgeous? I just feel like the divine feminine rising. And like what's been coming through lately is she's been rising, and now we're healing our masculine. And with Venus and Mars coming together, we're getting that opportunity. Abundance of Sothis. So now that we've worked on our feminine, we can open up to receive this abundance and to let go of the patterns of the fear and the not trusting, and allow ourselves to intend, take action, manifest, and receive. Really feeling that. And then I'm going to end with one more card. I got a new deck. I've been sharing this woman's videos, the Chinese 5 Elements Oracle by Vicky Iskandar. Hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. She's all about, she does Chinese astrology. It's really interesting. It's all related to animals, which I love, and the elements. And, oh, that one just fell out. Oh, water horse. A path to independence. And there's 2 dolphins jumping in the background. I love it. This really speaks to like the Chiron and the North Node in Aries. It's all about like independence, being your true self, being a self-healer. And that doesn't mean we can't go to other people for healing, but taking action on our own healing, you know, and learning more tools. Let's see what this says. The water horse pillar contains water on top of fire, elements that are the opposite of each other. Oh, that's interesting. That's like Mars and Venus. Water represents fear, while fire, the element of the horse, brings love and joy. Manage your fears so that they don't dampen your love for life, your enthusiasm, and your hopes. Fear will keep you from stepping out of your comfort zone, while love will open the door to true independence and an extraordinary life. I love that so much because it's reiterating what I was saying, and it brings me back to what I was talking about earlier about whether or not to speak up for myself in this scenario. And it was like I actually wasn't afraid, so I didn't really need to. It was more like I could just observe and I could let things go. You know, sometimes I think people really spout off their opinions to feel validated so that they feel safe. And we don't always need to do that. Sometimes we need to take the higher road and see our connection. And so anyway, this card invites you to expand your world by freeing yourself from attachments that have been holding you back from living your highest potential. These attachments may include codependency, self-limiting beliefs, self-doubts, and high expectations. Drop these heavy burdens off your back and notice how much more open your heart feels and how much more freedom you've given yourself. Now you can reach higher for your hopes and dreams with nothing holding you back, just like a horse running free on the beach. And that speaks a lot to Virgo energy, letting go of the high expectations, the self-doubt, all that kind of stuff. And the Chinese 5 elements show us that fear is truly the opposite of love. By letting go of your fears, you're allowing joy and serendipity to enter your life. You now have the lightness to go for what you love and discover more of what makes your heart sing, which in turn opens a new path for you, one that presents you with options. So I just love this because I so feel this energy of like just allowing our divine inspirations to guide us and to not allow fear or limiting beliefs to hold us back from taking action or receiving. And that's a lot. It's a lot, you know, but I believe in us. I know we can do this. It's just a matter of like allowing yourself to see everything that's coming up and let go of what you know is not serving you. And the ego can think that is so scary, but it's going to be so freeing when we do that. So I hope you guys have a wonderful full moon, and yeah, sending you lots of love.